a few more people are coming. But thank you for joining me, for coming back. Today I want to show you sablé breton. Sablé breton sounds already very French, right? So it's a French, actually a cookie, not a dessert, it's a French cookie. And I will tell you a little bit about the meaning of it, the history of it. Sablé breton is basically a French cookie, butter cookie, what is the French version of the British shortbread, let's say. Now, the name sablé breton also has a meaning. Sablé means sand, sandy, and breton is the region in France. And the region is very, very famous for butter, especially salted butter, sea salt butter. So therefore, the name sablé breton means a sandy, buttery cookie. And that is exactly what it is, but I'm not going to make it as a cookie today, even though that's what it is and what it is famous for in France. I'm going to use this cookie dough as a tart base, as you can see here. This is what a sablé breton looks like. So first I will show you how to make it. I'm going to put in the mixing bowl French butter. This is not salted butter because I'm using only unsalted butter in pastry, but I'm going to add salt to it. So you can use the salted butter instead of unsalted butter, and then you just don't add the salt to it. But because in my operation I always use unsalted butter, and I have this beautiful French unsalted butter, so I'm going to use it and I'm adding salt to it. So for the sablé, I'm going to use 250 gram butter, nice French butter. Now, when I use the butter, make sure, you see it's very soft. It's always at room temperature. Don't use the ice cold butter from the chiller. Nice room temperature butter. Room temperature butter, because everything you're going to add now to the butter is much easier to incorporate into the butter when it's at room temperature. When it's cold, it's very difficult. So I have 250 gram butter. I'm going to add 200 gram of sugar in here. And the sea salt that I just spoke about. I have a nice sea salt here, also called fleur de sel. 6 gram. I'm going to add that to my butter. Now I put it in my machine with a pedal attachment or this scraper attachment, not a whisk. And on slow speed, you just cream the butter and the sugar together. Yeah? You don't go on fast speed, because then you will whip a lot of air inside. And that is one thing you don't want to add air to the butter. Now, also for the sablé, I have here 300 gram of flour. The flour I'm using is normal cake flour, so T45, and baking powder. I have 12 gram of baking powder that I'm going to add to the flour. The flour is already sifted, so I don't have any lumps inside. And what is important for sablé breton is egg yolk. It has always egg yolk inside. So again, as usual, I'm using pasteurized egg yolk just for safety reasons. So make sure we don't have any salmonella or something inside. So when my butter and the sugar is creamed together, you see it's not fluffy or anything, it should look like this. Yeah? Then I'm going to add my egg yolk to it, what is 40 gram, 40. 40 gram of egg yolk. There we go. And again, I combine all of this on slow speed, not fast. Just get everything in. Once the egg yolk is combined with the butter and the sugar, I'm going to add my flour and my baking powder slowly to it. And still, I keep on running on slow speed. Don't go fast. No air inside, because the baking powder will bring it up already. 300 gram. 300 gram, but the type of flour is T45. So, and as soon as the mixture is combined, and you see there's no more flour, no more butter lumps, and it's all nicely come together, and it basically looks like this, right? That's when you stop. Don't overwork it. Look, this is what it should look like.
So it's more like sweet dough.
Yes, it's almost like a sweet dough, but softer because of a big amount of flour inside, a big amount of butter inside, sorry. So now, as it is very soft, you see, it's difficult to work with it. So you have to put it in the chiller for like 2 to 3 hours. So what I do is I'm taking it out of my bowl, make it a little bit flat, wrap it in clean film completely, and put it in the chiller for like 2 to 3 hours to rest. And after that, I start rolling it, only afterwards. When it is cold, you can easily roll it either with a rolling pin by hand or on a machine, no problem. And then I'm going to cut it out in whatever shape you want it. I today used like a round ring, small ones and big ones. Keep in mind there's baking powder inside, right? What means when you bake it, it will still come up. So don't roll it too thick, thinking it will stay like that. It will come up because of the baking powder. So when you roll it, let's say on like 3 to 4 millimeters, you will end up with like that thickness because of the baking powder. I bake it at around 180 degrees. The time always depends on your oven. Each oven is a little bit different, but on 180, this one will take around 12 minutes in my oven. In your oven might be 2 minutes shorter or longer. Just go by the color. When it's gold brown, it's usually done. I use a deck oven. I bake it in a deck oven with a chamotte stone, but you can also bake it in a convection oven. It's no problem. It's hard to say because especially with domestic ovens, there's like a huge difference. Just go by the color. When it's like nice and brown colored like this, it's done. So now you can, of course, add any sort of cream on there. You can just use a whipping cream, a chantilly cream, diplomat cream, a pastry cream, whatever. What I want to show you today is a custard cream, but made from scratch, not with custard powder. So I'm going to make a set custard, and I'm going to set it not with the typical custard powder, but it's a mix of cornstarch, vanilla flavor, yellow color, and wheat starch. I'm going to thicken it today with pectin. So I'm going to show you how that works. For the set custard, of course, first of all, we need a liquid. So we're going to use cream, just normal whipping cream. I use the same French cream as I use for my butter. So it's a very French dessert today. 500 gram of liquid cream I'm going to put into my pot. Then I'm going to add a little bit milk, 75 gram. Perfect. Then we want to thicken it. As I said, I'm going to use pectin. There's different type of pectins. Yes. I'm using egg and pectin. I'm using both. You can make it only with egg, but the texture will be a little bit different with the pectin. You will see when yes, and it's creamy from the egg. You can taste the egg, but the pectin gives it a thicker but pipeable, very nice consistency. So yes, exactly. So there are different types of pectins. So how many different types do you know? No? Okay, the most common ones. Let's only talk about the most common ones. There's pectin NH, there's pectin jaune or yellow pectin, and we use pectin X58. These are the three most common ones that we use in pastry. There's many more, but these are the three most common ones. So let's say you want to make a fruit sauce. Just thicken a sauce to use it on your plate or something. For that case, you would use pectin NH. If you want to make a jam or a pâte feu, pectin jaune. And pectin X58 is a bit of a different one exception. I use it when I have anything with milk, with cream, etc. that has calcium inside. Because normally you would add acid to anything that you're trying to bind with pectin. Let's say you make a jam, like you said, you would add at the end some form of acid, either lemon juice or citric acid or whatever, that will activate the pectin and thicken. Now here, I cannot add any acid because it will split my dairy, my cream and my milk, right? But that's why pectin X58, because I don't need the acid, because the dairy will do the trick. So, yes, as Christian said, you can just do it with eggs. So instead of using egg and pectin, you can increase the amount of egg. It will also thicken. Yeah, yeah, it is softer, but it will thicken as well. There's also one reason why I'm not using normal custard powder here in that set custard, because custard powder contains starch. And if you use a starch that is not modified, like a normal starch from the supplier, from the supermarket shelf, a non-modified starch, it won't be freeze stable. Starch will always hold on to the liquid, it will thicken it, but the moment you freeze it, the crystals are breaking down. When it defrosts, the water starts leaking out. Starch is not freezable. So I'm going to make it without. So I have here now milk and cream inside. I have sugar here and pectin here. So I'm going to add a little bit sugar into my pectin, simply to make sure it does not lump the moment I put it into the liquid. So no lumps. If I mix it with my sugar before, then I can just add it. And the rest of the sugar I'm going to put into a bowl. By the way, the sugar is 62 grams, in case you want to write down the recipe. It's 62 grams. And I'm going to add egg to the sugar. Here we're going to use 65 gram egg yolk. Again, the egg will thicken my mix also a little bit more. And whole egg, I'm going to add as well, 75 gram. There we go. Take a whisk, combine this egg and the sugar, and I leave it on the side. I'm going to start boiling my cream and the milk. And I'm going to add a little bit vanilla to it, fresh vanilla stick. I'm going to scrape it out, like I showed you in my other class where we did the cream, the vanilla cream. And in that class I also told you to don't throw away the vanilla pots when they are empty, when you have scraped them out and the seeds are in here. Keep them, put them in, boil it with. This is the one I have left from the class on, I think Tuesday it was. So I just put it in because there's still a lot of flavor in the vanilla pot. So just keep it, boil it, and get more flavor out of it. Here, my whole egg and egg yolk mixed with the sugar. You don't need to whisk it foamy or whatever. Just bring the cream to boil. Just before it starts boiling, I'm taking my pectin and sugar mix. I'm going to add it in here. Now, it won't lump anymore because I mixed the pectin with a little bit of the sugar. And now I have to bring it to boil, because if you use pectin, it has to boil. So that's why the pectin has to go in as this step already and not later, because with the egg I cannot boil it anymore. So I have to put it in whilst it is only cream. And now bring it to a boil with the pectin. You see it starts boiling. The moment it starts boiling, I take it off and I add it into my egg mixture just to temper it. Because if I would put the egg directly in here, the egg will split, right? So now I'm going down on that stove, low heat. I put this back in. And now I'm going to heat it to maximum 82 degrees. If you go above, your egg will split. You have a nice scrambled egg mixture here, sweet one, with a lot of expensive vanilla. So maximum 82. I normally stop already at like 81 because the pot is still so hot that by the time you have the mixture out of the pot, it's on 82 anyway. But remember, I put the heat completely down, no? So it's like on very low heat. It's like maybe a little bit more heat. And now you need to continuously stir when your egg is inside, because otherwise it starts setting on the bottom. The eggs scramble at the bottom. You don't want that, so I keep on stirring. So we're already on 78, almost there. $80. 81. Now I just take it off, so it's 82, directly back. And there I have my set custard. Now the set custard, you see at the moment it's still very, very liquid. Yeah. Now you have to put it into the chiller, that the pectin and everything can set in the egg, and then it will look like this. So that's what the pectin does. That's what the pectin does. It stays very creamy, but it actually sets more than with eggs. And it's a very nice pipeable consistency, but still creamy. So I'm just going to take this, fill it in a piping bag, because that is the cream that I'm going to use on my sablé breton as a base. So just pipe a thin layer on top of your sablé. Because we're eating it directly now, right? If I want to keep it for a longer time, then it's a very good idea to brush it with white chocolate or anything, just to make sure that the sablé breton doesn't get soggy. But because I can see many hungry faces, I know we will eat it immediately. No need. But if you make it like in the morning and you want to use it only in the afternoon or in the evening on a buffet or anything, it's better to brush it with a little bit of chocolate. Yeah. I wouldn't bake it too much in advance, because obviously it tastes always nicer when it's freshly made. But this one I also made yesterday, because I don't have like a oven here to make it now. But you can make it in advance, keep it in an airtight container for a day or two is no issue. But if you make it much more in advance, you lose the flavor. And also the freshness and the crumbliness that you would normally have, this typical nice sandy, it's gone then. Now you can top the sable breton with anything. You can use any sort of fruits, you know. You don't have to use vanilla cream. You can make a fruit flavored cream. You can put a mousse on top. It works nice with mangoes when the mangoes are in season, you know. It's endless possibilities. It really depends on your fantasy. The sky is the limit. But today I'm going to make it with mixed berries, because I love mixed berries. It kind of is, for me, a childhood memory. It kind of brings me back, you know, when many years when I was young. And we had like fresh berries in the garden. I absolutely love fresh berries. Seasonal fruits, like when you have mangoes in season, use fresh mangoes or papayas or anything that is in season works, you know. So whatever you like. And obviously here in UAE and Dubai, there is no really season of anything. We fly everything in here, right? So I have here blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, all mixed in my bowl here. And I'm having a glaze, a cold glaze, that we use a lot in pastry. It's ready made. This cold glaze I'm going to add to my berries, so they become like nice and shiny. And also because you see the strawberries, I cut them. If you would leave them out now like this, after a couple of hours they start looking very sad, you know, they're limping a bit. So that's why I put a little bit cold glaze, but very careful. You see, I just let it fall through my hands, because especially with the raspberries, if I would put too much pressure, they all break and fall apart. And I have like then mashed berries in my pot here, in my bowl. So very careful, just mixing it like this. So you see how shiny the berries become, and in the same time they are covered with a glaze so they can't dry out as fast. Then I'm just taking a handful of berries and placing on my sable breton. Cold glaze, it's also pectin based most of the time, and it's sugars, pectin, liquid, citric acid. It's a ready-made mix. So if you make it yourself, you can base it on water, but you can also base it on any fruit syrup or fruit juices. That also works. But when you buy it, it's usually based on water. Water, sugar, citric acid, thickened with pectin. That's basically all that is in there. Okay, and then we make some small ones as well. We just put a few berries on here. The small ones are a little bit more tricky. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going to decorate it with some micro herbs or some edible flowers to add a little bit more color to it and a bit more life to it. So I have different kind of microbes here, Aphila cress. We have some edible flowers that you can just add wherever you want. Chef Pimal will help me. You can start already with the micro-herbs. Put some on here. Yeah, just put some.
I will put the
You will put the berries. There's not much you can do wrong with these things. Maybe use some of this. Just as soon as you put a little bit green to it, so here you see a very simple French classic, sablé breton, with mixed berries. And that's all that is about sablé. Simple and easy. So I will make some small ones quickly with Chef Bimal so you can try them as well.